What's going on, y'all? This is the College Football 25 Road to Glory gameplay deep dive. He literally posted this 36 minutes ago, and I'm going to react to it. So, let's get it.
College Football 25's Road to Glory mode, it is officially time to talk about it. If you've been living under a rock and you have no idea what Road to Glory is, it allows you to play as a single player for a career mode and live out your collegiate dream of trying to win the Heisman. I'm covering a lot of really cool stuff about Road to Glory today, so if you're enjoying this, make sure to leave a like and subscribe as we are getting closer to 300,000 subscribers every single day. When you start your Road to Glory in College Football 25, you basically have to make a decision. What kind of player do you want to be? And I don't mean that just from a position. I mean, what kind of recruit from a star rating do you want to be? Are you going to be an elite guy, which is going to be the highest overall rating of a 79?
Okay, so far, I read about maybe like a fifth or a fourth of the blog that they dropped today. That also dropped this morning. I just skimmed through. I know some of the screenshots, and that's about it. So let's see. You know, let's see if there's anything new I can learn, and I'll let you know what I think.
You're going to be on the field immediately. You're not really going to have a lot of challenges in front of your way. You can probably play for most of the programs across the entire country. In some of my previous videos, I talked a lot about the physical and mental abilities in the game. You're actually going to get a mental ability right off the jump, and you're going to get 5 starting skill points. The skill points are also super important because that allows you to upgrade your player. You collect those, and there's different skill group buckets you can upgrade your guy in. So an elite, again, will start as a 79. If you choose to be a blue chip prospect, well, then you're going to be around a 75 overall, allowing you, again, to play for most of the programs in the country. Additionally, you'll get 1 mental ability and 4 skill points to kind of work towards upgrading your player. You have the contributor role, which is a 3-star prospect, allowing you to be a 67 overall player, and it's going to be a little bit harder to kind of get that playing time, especially if you want to go to a top playing program. The key thing to note here is you do not get a mental ability, and you only have 3 skill points to use on your player. And then we have the underdog, which is for the people that want the biggest challenge here. You're going to be a 60 overall, a 2-star prospect, and getting playing time is going to be a struggle. The only thing you get if you choose underdog is 2 skill points. That's it. Once you have your star rating figured out or the type of player you want to be, it's now time to choose what position you'll actually play.
They gave you
So in College Football 25, you can be a quarterback, running back, wide receiver, middle linebacker, or corner. I know a lot of people are probably wondering the question, well, can I be like Travis Hunter? Can I play a corner and a wide receiver as the same guy? Or can I play offense and defense depending on what position I am? No, not in College Football 25. Once you...
Okay, well... In the NCAA 14, I don't know about the other NCAAs, but I'm pretty sure NCAA 14, you could play both ways when you were in high school. But once you had to choose a position, from what I remember, I could be wrong, but you had to choose a position once you actually went to that school. So like in high school, you would play, if you played both ways, you would get recruited on one position. So like you'd get a scholarship from Arkansas to be a wide receiver, and then you'd also get another scholarship from USC to be a corner. So that doesn't shock me too much, but maybe they'll put it in next year's game. I don't know. Quarterback, halfback, wide receiver, middle linebacker, corner. I'm okay with this. Here's why. Hear me out. So, I think this is their plan. Give everyone 5 positions, right? And they can really focus on how to make these positions good, and then later, like College Football 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, they'll start, like putting in more positions and adding more depth to them. That's my guess. It sucks. I get it. Like, you can't be a safety. That was one of the funnest positions to be a player to play Road to Glory in my opinion. Roaming the fields, just freaking, you know what I mean? Like, being a free safety was lit, bro. Can't do that. But I'm okay with it. I'm really not too mad. I think corner was probably the funnest, though, in my opinion. Like, locking people up and getting picks, getting like three or 4 picks a game, which was really hard, by the way. Not easy to do. in NCAA 14 at least. I quit games so I can max out each games, and try to get the best stats. You could not catch me finishing a game with like one tackle and that's it. That's my one stat. Nah, I'm a replay a game like 15 times, and I get pissed. I'm okay with it. I hope they add more in the future. That's it. So
running back, wide receiver, middle linebacker, or corner. I know a lot of people are probably wondering the question, well, can I be like Travis Hunter? Can I play a corner and a wide receiver as the same guy? Or can I play offense and defense depending on what position I am? No, not in college football 25. Once you choose your position, again, only able to play on one side of the ball, offense or defense, the archetype you choose is actually going to impact the attributes you have, the skill group caps, and then any physical abilities that are actually available to you. So for example, if you choose quarterback, you have the option to be a field general quarterback. You could be a scrambler. You could be an improviser. And these are all going to have different sort of rating caps that are available to you. A field general would have access to abilities like sleight of hand, which kind of boosts your effectiveness of play action and trick plays on defenders, along with step up, which gives you an accuracy boost when you have a clean pocket and you start climbing up in it. And then on the other hand, if you choose to be a scrambling quarterback, well, you're going to be able to
step up to the streets, bro. Just kidding. That was a bad joke. My bad.
Plays on the run. You have access to abilities like the option king, so that gives you an aggressive boost to quick pitches. Again, when you're playing a quarterback or any player, you can quick pitch it, or you can actually hold it for a stronger pitch, which is more accurate, but it takes more time to throw.
A lot of people think this is going to be overpowered. Just options in general, option playbooks and option quarterbacks and stuff. I don't know. I don't think so. I think it's going to be fun. But I don't think it's going to be like what everybody plays. Because I think like here in real life, is it overpowered? No. And there's a lot of counters that you can do as a defense. So I don't know. I don't think it's going to be that. I mean, if it is, how hard is it to just buff it?
And as a scrambling quarterback, you would have the opportunity to have off-platform as your ability, which gives you better cross-body throws or back foot throws, which honestly a lot of us probably do. But once you actually choose your star rating, your position, and then your archetype, it's time to actually customize your player. I will say that I was bummed that you couldn't play a two-way player this year, and obviously there is no high school because we haven't even talked about that yet, so there is no high school. But I think the customization options for your player are pretty good for year one. There's a lot of different customization options for your player. There's like crop top jerseys, so you can have the abs that you don't have in real life showing in the video game.
Dope.
You could have a hoodie underneath your jersey. There's different sleeves.
You could wear a hoodie, bro. That's sick.
And stuff. And I think they did a pretty good job year one. The faces they have in the game are pretty
I'm gonna
good
stop.
too. I just, we're hoping for a little bit more customization on facial hair and other features. But I think for the most part, this is really good for year one. Once you customize your player and got them looking exactly like you want them to, just keep in mind that you're going to have 3 core mental abilities that are tied to your weekly agenda meters. And we're going to talk a little bit about that more later, but they're...
Whoa, what? 3 mental abilities. Individual meters that you associated with life. Academics, brand leadership. Ooh. All right.
Core mental abilities that are tied to your weekly agenda meters. And we're going to talk a little bit about that more later, but they're very important. You ultimately be selecting one of these abilities, but keep in mind that each one of these has an activation and a deactivation point. So if you look at fan favorite, that's going to increase your ability to have composure gains at home. It's tied to your academics and your GPA. So if you're above a 3.0, then the fan favorite ability will be available. If it falls below a 3.0, then it's going to deactivate and you don't have it until you get your GPA back up. Wow. The next one is Road Dog, and this ability increases the composure gains on the road. So this is tied to your brand meter, or think of it as kind of like your NIL. The brand meter has different status points, and when you hit the influencer status, it'll turn on, and then when it falls below that, it'll ultimately turn off. And the last one is clear-headed. This limits the amount of composure you will lose during gameplay, so it's tied to your leadership rating in the game. If you become an excellent leader, it'll turn on, and then if you're
this is deep,
not a great leader, then it falls below that threshold, it'll turn off. Keep in mind that if you select the elite or blue chip journeys that we sort of talked about in the very beginning of the video, you'll be able to select an additional mental ability. The really interesting thing about that is that it will grant you a 4th ability that's actually in addition to the 3 core mental abilities you already have. It's not going to be tied to your weekly agenda meter, and it's always going to be activated for you. So the mental abilities you select are going to be based on your position. But again, elite or blue chip can kind of give you a little bit of an extra one.
Okay.
Once you selected your starting mental ability, though, you'll get a nice little screen showcasing your mental, your physical options, your rating stats that you have right now, your overall rating, and your player in a really cool menu setup. And then it's time to start your road to glory. The next screen
That's
you see is
freaking
actually
sick,
going to be
bro.
a phone, and there's a reporter named Dana Harper that you're going to be talking to, and it's sort of about figuring out what your ideal
what
pitch
kind
would
of phone
be
is
for a school
that?
you're interested in. You're going to get asked
No
questions about
notch, no freaking, no camera, no camera hole. That's dope. What phone is that? Power button on the left. It's an Android, right? Power button on the left and the volume. Sorry, I'm getting off topic.
figuring out what your ideal pitch would be for a school you're interested in. You're going to get asked questions about, do you care about winning a national championship? Do you want to be a starter early in your career? Do you want to make it to the next level and play on Sundays in the NFL? Your answers to the questions that you have here are basically going to align schools with your goals and values and create a personalized, kind of engaging recruiting experience. Once you complete that little interview with Dana Harper, again, via phone, you're going to immediately jump into signing day. You're going to get all these different images of what you can select from a school, what your interest level is going to be for that school, and where you're going to rank on their depth chart. You might have a high interest from a certain school, but might find out that you're second or third in the depth chart, and now you know that, well, you're not an instant starter. Do you really want to go there? It's a really nice way to get a handle of what your experience is going to be, and you can really cater it to yourself.
Okay, that makes sense. I had some questions about it. So, like, instead of being in high school and you play a couple games, so, like, if you have Alabama as your preferred school, like, it's going to be a long time. You got to ball out in high school and play those games. Like, you have to be so good in those games to get offered from Alabama. This way, it's just like, you want to go to Alabama, you got to be 5-star, pretty much. Like, you got to start as the highest. That's cool. I don't mind that. Like, of course, that sucks you can't start in high school, but, I mean, it's not bad. There's a lot more to it, so now I get it. That's cool.
You've ultimately committed, though, there's a nice little screen that pops up that shows that you've committed to that school, similar to what they have in Dynasty mode, and then it's on to figuring out your career. The most important thing you're going to do in Road to Glory is really manage your time. It's not just about getting on the field and doing all these things. You have a weekly agenda that you kind of have to balance in a very quick way. It's not overly cumbersome. You have to balance sort of what you're doing, how you're doing it, and when you're doing it. The weekly agenda is really about your off-the-field activities. So you've got to focus on maybe some of your GPA stuff to make sure that you're academically eligible, because you can become ineligible and not be able to play for a significant period of time. Maybe you want to spend more time lifting weights and working out so you can have better physical attributes. That's the thing you can do, but that comes with a cost. That could actually impact your wear and tear, which you have to put time and effort into after each game to make sure you're healthy week after week. It's a really cool system to kind of give you this balance effect that you need to do like a real college athlete. Spend some time in the classroom, spend some time in the weight room, spend some time in practice, work on your image, and figure out what matters to you the most. Speaking of practice,
Dope,
they have some
bro.
really cool practice
I like
drills in
it.
here, and I think there's a good variety to really keep
In my
things fresh.
opinion, the more
So
decisions
each week you can actually go ahead and
that
complete a mini game, and
you
there's
have to
different
make,
tiers. You're going to get up to 500 coach trusts
the
for gold.
deeper the
You're going
depth
to get
of the
silver
game.
at 350 coach trusts, and bronze gives you
I like
200
it.
coach trusts. Some of the drills are
I
easy,
like it.
and some of the drills are more of a challenge. They basically broken the mini games down into two different sections. So you have team mini games, which are what they sound like, involving more than just yourself, kind of in a 5v5 setting, making sure that you can really do the best you can as a unit. And then you have skill mini games, which are going to be more individualized, and they're focusing more on your individual player and your player's skills. So to give you an example, a team mini game might be the pass skeleton, where if you've played Madden in recent years, it's the quarterback with multiple receivers and multiple defenders trying to complete passes and get into the end zone. Whereas if you're a quarterback doing a skill mini game, there might be the pocket presence mini game, where you're dodging projectiles out of cannons and trying to make sure you hit your targets or your receivers in stride. If you don't feel like doing practice in the mini games, you don't actually have to. You can simulate that, and they'll give you the same amount of score you had as your highest medal earned on that particular drill. When you're not on the practice field, though, let's kind of talk about your weekly agenda and energy points. So each week, as long as it is a normal week, you have about 5 energy points to spend. Let's say you play on a Thursday, for example, you would only get 4 energy points. If you're in a bye week or a free week for whatever reason, you would have 6 energy points that give you a little bit more free time. These energy points have to be balanced between a couple of different items to really make sure that your time management is key and that you're keeping your player's career in the way that you want it to be. These 5 activities are represented by a meter on your screen, and they are going to be academics, which are your studies, helping you maintain your GPA and staying eligible. Leadership, which is going to be about spending time on leadership activities to earn respect and trust from your teammates and coaches, and that could actually give you a leadership role in the team. Your health, which is about your wear and tear, the damage you're taking week in and week out, making sure you stay injury-free and be able to play in peak physical condition. We have training, which are extra training sessions that allow you to
it's a
kind
chore,
of boost your
not
player
gonna
up
lie,
from a
bro.
physical
You gotta
attribute
put
standpoint, and each time you actually complete a meter,
I'm
you
an
get a
effort
skill point to
into
use.
this.
And lastly, we have brand, which is about working your popularity, opening up different opportunities for you from an NIL perspective, endorsements, off-the-field benefits, and more. Academics play a really crucial role in this for you because it's really about making sure your player stays eligible and that you are ready for the exams, and you have an exam every 8 weeks. It's broken down in kind of 2 different categories. You have test readiness, which is each week by spending time on academics, you'll be studying, which will improve your test readiness. This is essential for making sure you do well on your midterm exams. If your test readiness is low, your likelihood of failing a midterm is significantly increased. And then you have your GPA, which is a reflection of your academic performance.
Okay, I do have some insight on this. I did play college football for like 1.5 seasons. I walked on to my college, Azusa Pacific, go Cougs. Their football program was cut because of COVID, but that's another story for another day. School is hard, bro. Being a scholar, a full-time student, and a football player, and if you do any extracurricular activities, like you have no time or energy to allocate anywhere else. Like you, obviously, like I did other stuff too, but it's just so much harder. And like, I know if we weren't like if students weren't like 18 to early 20s, like there's no way anyone could do this. And the amount of stress, time you have to, like, you're putting so much stress on your body, your mind, everything, dude. It's hard. And the fact that you have to be ready for midterms, not in a literal sense, but like you gotta put time, you gotta separate time for that. Like, that's crazy. That's crazy. That's pretty dope, though. That's pretty dope.
Influenced by the results of your exams and quizzes that you take. So as you're allocating your different energy points along the way throughout the season, keep in mind you're going to have a midterm around week 8 and around week 15. The higher your test readiness, the better.
All right, take note. Midterms 8 and 15, bro. Week 8, 15. Put that on your calendar. Like you're a student.
Exam's going to be. The lower it is,
Studious out here.
pain. The midterms are important.
Whoa,
because
what'd you say?
your performance exam's going to be. The lower it is, pain. The midterms are important because your performance on those actually directly impacts your GPA. A high test means you're going to get a higher GPA. A low test is going to hit a significant hit to your GPA. Your goal here is to really maintain at least a 2.0. I mean, that's like bare minimum. If you do higher, there are obviously benefits. We talked about the mental abilities, but you have to have at least a 2.0 to stay academically
okay,
eligible.
I like.
If you
Okay,
do fall below a 2,
okay, it's more than just. Okay, it's more than just eligibility. That's cool. So, he said a benefit for having a higher GPA was more mental abilities. That's dope. That is very, very interesting.
Required mandatory study halls. These study hall sessions are going to actually consume a portion of your energy each week until your GPA is back up above that 2.0 threshold.
Wow.
You also do get kind of quizzes that pop up, sort of pop quizzes almost. You don't actually take a quiz, but you are giving scenarios and different questions that pop up about, you know, what you want to do. Do you want to study for it? Do you not want to study for it? Do you want to go out to a party? You have different options in front of you.
Whoa.
If you do decide to maybe study a little more, that'll take some energy points away from things you maybe could have put towards.
Wait, do you want to go out to a party? Like, is there a benefit to that? Like, why would anybody actually want to do that? Like, do you have a morale or something, and like it boosts your morale, and then you get like, you play better or something? Like, you can choose to go to a party versus study for a quiz? Interesting.
Training sessions or wear and tear or something else like brand. I know some of you are probably thinking, well, I'll just stay above a 2.0 and that'll be fine. But there are benefits to be above a 3.0.
Okay, here we go.
If your GPA is above a 3.0, you get the fan favorite mental ability. If you fall below the 3.0, though, it will turn off. Your
Okay.
GPA is also directly linked to your coach trust. So the higher your GPA is, you'll get a more of a positive bonus, and the lower the GPA is, you will have a negative bonus impact your coach trust. After academics is the leadership section, and this is important because you get a coach trust boost every single week. If your leadership is high, you're gonna get a positive bonus each week, kind of reflecting the coach's confidence in you as a team leader. If your leadership is low though, you can expect a negative impact to your coach trust, and that gets really tough when you're talking about position battles, which we'll get to in a second. The other really cool thing I like about the leadership aspect is it actually impacts how fast your teammates progress. So if your leadership skill is high, you have a force multiplier making your teammates better every single day and in games. This is important because if you're on a bad team or a team trying to compete for a championship, the better your teammates are, the better they will play, which means the higher your chances are to compete for a natty. And conversely, if you are being a terrible teammate, then, well, you can imagine that your leadership drags your teammates down. They can actually result in less than 100%.
Yo, that's dope, bro. Yo, that's sick because I feel like in real life, you got a good leader. Like he makes everybody better. And like that's reflected in the game. Like if you're a good leader, you just like everybody around you better. Y'all done did it, bro. Y'all done did it. That's sick.
Each game. Your leadership can also impact team morale, so they can get hyped for, you know, a big game or rally back from a tough moment in the game, or they can absolutely crumble because your leadership is terrible. When you've crushed it with your leadership bar and you kind of get to the excellence status, you get the clear-headed ability. The clear-headed ability is really important because it protects you from composure loss events in the actual game, ensuring that you and your teammates remain focused and composed basically during critical moments of each match. Next up is health, and this is probably the most important if you had to ask me. Every game you play, every training you actually do, you're going to be taking a little bit of physical damage on your body, and it's important to keep that in the best possible area. In Dynasty mode, you actually see players recover week over week. In Road to Glory, you have to actually spend points to make sure that your player recovers every single week. If you let your wear and tear build up, or you're not really taking care of yourself in the game, you can get injured, and yes, you can miss time in games. And even if you don't get injured...
Okay, this is huge too. And I think this reflects real life as well. So when I was playing youth football, I would step, like I was a running back, and if I had the ball and like I was running down the sideline and there's a player coming, like I would just step out of bounds sometimes because I'm like, I didn't like contact that much, so I'd step out. And I'd get freaking scorched by coaches and stuff. They'd be like, nah, run into, like, hit him. I'm like, okay. And I didn't want to. But, like, now with this system, like, I'm going to do that a lot. Like, I don't, like, in real life now, too, like, in the NFL, college, like, coaches do also preach that. They're like, don't take the hits you don't have to take. Like, I think Deion Sanders said it once. Don't quote me on this. But he was coaching up a student. He was like, bro, you have a life bar on football, and your goal should be play as long as you can. And if you're going to go NFL, if you have, like, you want to have a long football career, like, don't take the unnecessary hits if you don't have to, you know? I think somebody said that about Lamar Jackson, and he now, you know, he slides and runs out of bounds more. Like, now you have a reason to do that in the game. I love it. I love it.
Your low health can actually impact how much a coach is willing to play you, because a coach will kind of see your wear and tear, and then they're like, well, this guy's a little bit banged up. I'm actually going to put somebody else in to play for them right now. It's tough to make sure you're balancing your training and your health the way that you need to, but you kind of get the hang of it pretty soon. You just want to make sure you stay as clear of that as you possibly can and don't take any damage. This also impacts you heavily in games. You actually want to play the game smarter, because you're like, man, if I don't take bad hits here, if I run out of bounds here, if I slide here, if I do these things that I'm supposed to, I won't have as much wear and tear in my body, which means I can spend more points on training or more points on brand or academics. That's what I was saying, bro. They do a great job of communicating to you right up front that the wear and tear you have is going to impact maybe throw power or speed or break tackle or whatever rating it essentially is associated with your player. You'll see the negative impacts of your wear and tear. Training is critical as well, but it's pretty simple to kind of understand. You're going to have a progress bar that fills up as you do things in the game to get different goals, help do your things in practice, kind of maintain being a good player overall. And as you fill that bar up, you'll earn skill points. Skill points are what you use to help upgrade your skill groups.
Hey, peep the name, peep the name, peep the name, peep the name.
A collection of different ratings that you
Keep
have
the
that you want to upgrade at
name.
one
That's
time.
so
But
funny.
keep in mind,
Yo,
the more
who
time
did
you
that?
spend training, the more wear and tear you incur. So you've got to make sure you have enough points to really balance that out. But by spending points on
Wow.
training, you actually fill that bar up. And when that bar fills up all the way, you'll get a skill point. So it's a nice way to be like, well, I need a couple of skill points. I got some energy. My wear and tear is pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and spend it on training, and you can get a chance to upgrade your player. Brand is kind of a big one here, and think of it as your version of NIL in the game. There are a lot of different opportunities and different things that can come up your way if you're building your brand properly, but keep in mind, you got to balance your academics, your wear and tear, your leadership, your XP for training. All that's got to be balanced too. You start a local hero, and your goal is to build your way all the way up to a global phenom. In the game, you're going to have 4 different NIL slots that you can use. You have your third one opening up at 250,000 fans, and your fourth and final one opens up at 1 million fans earned. That's a lot. When you reach the influencer tier, though, you get the road dog ability. So this kind of is important because it helps increase your composure games when you're playing on the road, helping you perform a lot better in away games. There's sort of an engagement meter there, so each time you actually perform the socialize action, you're going to increase the number of followers you have as well as your engagement meter. The more frequently you socialize, the higher your engagement meter will be. A higher engagement meter means that your content is more quickly to go viral, just like real life, allowing you to gain followers way more quickly. Something I love, though, in Road to Glory are the scenarios and dilemmas they kind of bring up. There are some that are super basic, and there are some that are hilarious, and some that are just super weird. The cool thing about these is that they can involve different things like teammates, advisors, other students on campus, NIL deals, and then weird, fun surprises along with coaches as well. The really important thing here is that there's no right or wrong answer.
That's spicy, bro.
Your decisions on these different dilemmas are going to determine how your scenarios are impacted from your health, your brand, and your coach trust.
Wow.
There are dilemmas that will pop up that will say, hey, there's an off-campus party. Do you want to come hang out with us? It'd be a great time. Attending that party could absolutely boost your brand for you, which is going to be great from an NIL perspective. But it could also require you to skip a night class you have that's helping you for a quiz, or you're trying to get ready to study for your exam, and you've got to balance really what's going there. Is it worth getting that extra brand exposure, or do you want to make sure your GPA is right because you don't want to get a negative impact there? Maybe you're actually playing really bad in games, and you're kind of getting a dilemma that pops up where fans are just letting you have it. A troll's reaching out to you, and you got to figure out, do you want to respond by taking the high road? Do you want to criticize them right back, make a burner, and be your biggest hype man like you're Kevin Durant? There's a lot of different ways you can go. With EA talking about having people replay this mode a ton, I think the dilemmas are really cool because based on how you're doing and what's going on and the things you selected throughout your career, different paths and opportunities and dilemmas pop up, and that keeps this fresh in my opinion. There was even a simple one about having an 8:30 morning class and one of your teammates is saying, hey, do you want to get to the government class, together in the morning?
Sleep in,
and you
skip
can choose
class.
to skip the class and sleep in. You can agree to drive together. Driving together might make sure your GPA is in a good spot, but sleeping in might increase your wear and tear to improve by 3. But then not
Wait,
going
was
to
that a classmate or a teammate? It was a teammate. Agree to drive together? Does it imagine you drive, does that also boost his overall or something? Like give him a, I don't know, leadership goes up?
hey, do you want to get to the government class
Did you say that
together
already?
in the morning? And you can choose to skip the class and sleep in. You can agree to drive together. Driving together might make sure your GPA is in a good spot, but sleeping in might increase your wear and tear to improve by 3. But then not going to that class could maybe mean that you miss a pop quiz and then your GPA could take a hit. So there's a lot of different balances you got to figure out on what you want to do. Let's talk about NIL deals because yes, they are in the game and you unlock them as a total of 4 based on how many followers you have with your brand. They're going to come in different durations and different size opportunities, and the duration they run will have an energy cost associated with them. You might have some NIL deals that have an upfront cost of energy that maybe is a stronger hit at first, but then leaves your weeks after kind of open. Or you might have some that are saying, hey, this is going to take 2 energy points remaining for each week for 6 weeks, and you've got to figure out, is that worth it? I have some big games coming up. Accepting an NIL deal comes with different rewards, which can be provided up front. They could be weekly, they could be at the conclusion of the deal, and there's different ways. If you choose to accept an NIL deal, the way the rewards can be provided could be immediately, they could be every week, or they could even be at the conclusion of the actual deal. With those rewards, you're looking at gameplay bonuses, which are going to improve your in-game attributes, so things like your catching ability, your speed, your stamina, your break tackle could all be impacted. Then you have off-the-field bonuses, so things like one of your meters getting increased, so your number of followers, a boost to your coach trust, improving your health, maybe having like a cryo chamber so that you don't have to worry about getting your wear and tear improved as much each week. Not every NIL deal that comes your way is going to be worth it, but it's up to you to decide, do I want to do it? Do I not want to do it? Do I have the opportunity to do it? It's really about managing your own individual career and making sure that the energy you're putting into an NIL deal is worth it at the end. It's important, though, not to overlook what NIL deals bring you, because they give you a lot of power and flexibility if you do it right. There are some opportunities and gains you can get in the game that are only possible via NIL deals, so pay attention and grow your brand. I talked a lot about coach trust, or hinted at coach trust, but you're probably wondering, what exactly does that do? Coach trust is really the currency you have in the mode that unlocks your ability to have more playing time and do more things. Managing your weekly activities, doing well in those practice sessions you're doing, playing well during the minutes you get in every game, all of that will help build your coach trust. What's really cool, though, is that you can obviously earn coach trust to increase your playing time and get access to more plays you can be able to be called and all those things, but so can your teammates. When you're looking at the depth chart, you can easily go in and look and see where you actually rank in comparison to your teammates and figure out, okay, are you close to being the starter? Is somebody right on your heels and maybe coming to take your starting position? All these things are going to be in flux. And this brings us to position battles, which are my favorite thing in Road to Glory. Let's say you join a university and you are QB2 and the person in front of you is a couple of overall ratings higher. Your goal is to get as much coach trust as you possibly can so that you can meet them on the coach trust meter, and then you can trigger a position battle. Position battles are so cool and intense, though, because they take 3 of the mini games you've been probably doing throughout your practice each week, and they put you into those. You cannot restart those. Once you're in them, you literally cannot restart, and you have to win 2 out of 3 to win the position battle. If you're a quarterback, you could see things like the option attack, scramble survive, pass skeleton all come up, and you maybe haven't done those in practice mode, so it's worth your time when you're doing practice to do as many different ones as you possibly can so you're familiar in the event of a position battle. And even if you happen to win that position battle and be QB1, it doesn't stop there. The backup quarterback could find their way with coach trust back up to you and compete for a starting job. You've got to keep on your toes. When you're actually on the field, though, it's all about making sure you hit different goals and earn as much player XP as you possibly can. In Road to Glory, your character is going to earn XP through a couple of different ways: gameplay and training. When you hit the offseason, though, you do not gain any additional training in the offseason. Everything you do is, again, through gameplay and training, which are those different drills or progressing your training meter. That is it. Increasing that bar, again, gives you a skill point, and that's what you use to upgrade your skill groups, and let's talk about those. Instead of actually going in and upgrading an individual attribute like speed or break tackle or spin move or whatever, you actually do a skill group instead. Skill groups are a collection of different attributes, so think about if you are a quarterback, for example, your power skill group will include things like throw power and strength. Every skill group in the game can have a maximum level of up to 10, but that doesn't mean you have all 10 levels. You can only have 7 in a particular category or 8 in a different category. It's important that when you're creating your actual Road to Glory character on that very first screen that we talked about, to make sure you're looking at the different caps that you have for your character, so you can say, well, I can only go to a maximum rating of this here or that here, and make sure you're comfortable with that. Once you've upgraded a skill group to its actual level cap, you cannot upgrade it any further unless there's something specific. What you would need to have happen is your coach to possess the Architect archetype along with Limitless or put a ring on it abilities. If they have that, that's great, because Limitless will give them the chance to increase a random skill cap every time a character levels up. If they have put a ring on it, that gives them a chance to raise your highest skill cap after winning a national championship or conference championship. We've talked a little bit about mental and physical abilities, but let's break them down some more. With your Road to Glory character, you have kind of a unique opportunity, unlike Dynasty players, to increase your mental abilities by completing in-game objectives. So every time you complete an actual objective, the corresponding ability will upgrade to the next tier to a maximum level of Platinum. So for example, to upgrade the field general ability to maybe silver tier, you have to throw 20 touchdowns in a season as a quarterback. As you hit these different performance benchmarks and kind of increase your mental abilities over time, you're going to get significant advantages on the field. But it's also important to remember that your mental abilities are tied to your meters in the game of like your leadership, your brand, your coach trust, all these different things. If you aren't doing well with those and you fall below a threshold, those mental abilities will not be active. So if you're out there with, you know, a sub 3.0 GPA, then you might lose one of those clear-headed abilities. It's worth noting, though, you can actually still make progress towards an objective even if that ability is actually inactive at the time. On the other side of things, your physical abilities can only be upgraded by skill points. Every physical ability in the game actually has a unique rating requirement associated with it. So for example, if you want the sleight of hand ability for your quarterback at bronze tier, you have to have an 83 play action to make sure it can be upgraded to that. And this continues to apply to every single tier of those abilities throughout. On the physical side, there always will be a rating requirement associated with it. When you're on the field, though, probably the first thing you're going to notice is a much tighter camera, and there's also going to be a lot of like cutscenes or different segments that are very specific to your player in that mode. The same things you might see in Play Now or Head-to-Head or Dynasty, with the pre-play art going crazy if you're playing on the road, or, you know, composure and different things of that nature. All of that is still going to be in Road to Glory. So remember, if you're playing on the road and you happen to have great leadership and you've got your meters high, you can keep your teammates calm and composed. But if you're a bad leader, it might get lay tough out there, as the French say. You could even be a quarterback with the headstrong ability, and that's going to give you a mental ability to keep yourself more composed. So your pre-snap adjustments, those kind of crazy meters going all over the place or crazy lines all over the place, that won't happen. It'll be a lot smoother. If you're somebody who jumps into this mode though and you don't like how tight the camera is and you prefer more of a traditional camera, you can use down on the D-pad or up on the D-pad to kind of move the camera back and forth till you get the camera angle you want to see. And I alluded to it earlier, but keep in mind when you're on the field, you have to be very careful with your wear and tear. If you're out here trying to hurdle everybody and taking every hit, you will probably get pulled from a game more than you like to. You can hold the left trigger or L2 if you're on PlayStation, and then I believe it's down on the right stick to actually see the wear and tear meter, to see what your meter is for wear and tear as well as your teammates as well. So if you're a quarterback and you want to have your star wide receiver in, maybe don't throw them hospital balls left and right, because their wear and tear will add up. Play calling is kind of interesting when you're actually in the game, because you're limited to a singular play that's called every single time. And as your coach trust builds up, you get play changes to allow you to have 2 additional plays that are thrown your way based off your team's playbook. If you're on PlayStation, you hit triangle. If you're on Xbox, you'd hit Y, and that'll bring up these 2 additional plays that can get called for you. Keep in mind, you have a very limited number of those to start, so you have to be very careful on how often you use it, because then you might get stuck with plays that you hate later in the game. You cannot audible, but if you're a quarterback, you can definitely do hot routes and move things around, or even if you're a different position, you could hot route and change things from that perspective, but audibles are not available. But maybe you go through an entire season and you realize, I hate this team, I hate this coach, and I want to transfer. Well, guess what? You can transfer just like a player can in real life after every single season. If you want to stay to school, you absolutely can, but the transfer portal is absolutely there for you. The schools that are going to be available to you in the transfer portal are not random, and they're kind of based off your player's performance and the key pitches that you initially had that maybe attracted schools or attracted you towards particular schools. So as you're doing your initial pitches when you first create your Road to Glory player, don't just think about the first season. Think about, well, is there another team maybe that I care about later down the line that I want to make sure my pitch is aligned to? You can win awards in Road to Glory like the Heisman, or for your individual particular position. All of that's definitely available for you, but really your goal should be to win conference championships and national titles. The most important thing though is that when you actually finish all 4 years of your career, you can actually retire from college football, or you can export your player to Madden. I think that everybody should make sure they export their player to Madden, so that if you decide to pick a Madden and want to play that superstar career mode as well, you can bring your player in no matter what. It's great to see that you can bring your player into Madden, unlike, unfortunately, Dynasty mode, which does not have the export player function, but still, having your player go from college and Road to Glory all the way into Madden feels like something we've been needing for a long time, and I'm excited to have that feature back. So in the comments down below, tell me what position you're going to play, what team you hope to play for, and how many national titles you hope to win. Be safe, be smart, tell somebody you love them. Catch you guys on the next one.
Oh boy, this was like almost on par with Dynasty. There is so much to do. That in itself could be a game. Dynasty itself could be a game. And this is one game. Oh, man. Wow. All right, well, let me know what you guys think. Comment down below, like, and subscribe. I will link the video down in the description. If you guys want to check that out, please go check his video out. Give his a like. And a follow and a subscribe and all that good stuff. Hope you guys like this one, and thanks for watching. See y'all in the next one. Deuces.